Hey guys, welcome to another video. So check this out. I was looking at the Daily Mail, link down below. There's a guy in China that got infected with tapeworms after eating sushi, so raw fish. Absolutely disgusting. Have a look at some of these photos here. Real dangers of eating raw fish. Tapeworm is a horrifying infection that can go unnoticed for months. Humans contract tapeworm infections from sushi by eating raw fish that has been infected with the worm in its larvae stage. When fish eat tapeworm eggs, the hatching larvae attach themselves to the intestinal wall of the fish, and the worms infect the fish flesh. Because sushi is not cooked, the larvae can in turn transfer into the flesh of any human that eats the fish. Once a human is infected, a tapeworm will grow inside the intestine to a length of up to 15 meters over a period of weeks. It can survive for years and go undetected for weeks or months, in turn releasing its own eggs that infect other parts of the human body. Symptoms include fatigue, constipation, and abdominal discomfort, which can be so mild the victim may not notice anything is wrong. If the larvae begin to migrate to other parts of the body, they can start to eat away at the liver, eyes, heart, or brain and cause life-threatening conditions.
It's not only raw fish that is bad for human health. Check this out, guys.
There's a parasitic worm in fish called anisakis. This year we learned that about 2/3 of retail fish samples came up positive for them. This is what they look like. They're really quite small, actually. You can see two here kind of peeking out of some sushi. Because people eat fish raw, parasites are always a concern, but the unique thing about these worms is that our bodies can be so sensitive to them that the worms can trigger an allergic reaction dead or alive, even if they're cooked. So we're finding some people that are allergic to fish really aren't. They're allergic to the dead worms in the fish.
We know that seafood contains amounts of mercury, but just how much is there, really? A new device can actually test a piece of fish in less than a minute for pennies a serving.
There is too much mercury in 1/3 of the fish tested by one chemical engineer.
We've tested probably 75,000 fish since 2004. We've certainly found more mercury in fish than we thought would be there.
Mal Wittenberg, with Safe Harbor Seafood Certification, invented this mercury detection machine, which challenges the safety standards set by the FDA. The federal government allows seafood to contain 1 part per million of mercury. That's twice the levels allowed in Canada and Europe. Japan's is even lower. Safe Harbor also sets the limits much lower by taking the industry average for each species of fish, and if the mercury concentration in a sample goes over, it fails. We put Bay Area sushi to the test, taking samples from grocery stores and boutique markets to restaurant chains and high-end sushi houses. Technician Bob Bragg drills out a piece the size of a grain of rice and measures for mercury concentration. First, from Safeway's Deli, sushi made with yellowfin or ahi tuna.
And the mercury concentration is 0.953.
The standard for ahi is 0.4 parts per million, so it's twice the limit set by Safe Harbor. Would you eat it?
No.
In this batch of 26 sushi samples, salmon from Bristol Farms, a boutique market in downtown San Francisco, and hamachi, or yellowtail, from Japantown's Nijiya Market, both failed the Safe Harbor test. Yellowtail from Benihana chain restaurant and more pricey sushi bar Ozumo both hit above the 0.4 parts per million limit set by Safe Harbor and failed.
That highlights the variability of mercury in seafood. You just don't know unless you test it. You can't look at it, you can't predict it.
Currently, the FDA conducts blanket tests on random batches of fish, with the costly results arriving in a week, well after the fish is sold.
Now to an important medical alert. Fish oil supplements are constantly touted for their health benefits because they contain omega-3 fatty acids. But a new lawsuit contends they may contain something else too, PCBs, industrial chemicals that were banned back in the 1970s because they cause cancer and birth defects.
Beneath the surface of waterways like the Chesapeake Bay, small filter fish ingest polychlorinated biphenyl compounds, or PCBs, that were deposited there decades ago by electrical plants and other polluters. When environmental activists tested 10 different fish oil supplements, they say every one contained PCBs. According to California law, people should not be exposed to more than 90 nanograms of this carcinogen a day. But the results showed 3 of the 10 contained much more than that. Nature-made cod liver oil, and Now Foods salmon oil and double-strength cod liver oil.
People are being exposed to PCBs through these products, and they're not being told.
Are purported benefits of fish oil supplementation for the prevention and treatment of heart disease just a fishtail? Those advised to eat oily fish, and particularly those supplied with fish oil capsules, had a higher risk of cardiac death. Put all the studies together, and there's no justification for the use of omega-3s as a structured intervention in everyday clinical practice, or for guidelines supporting more dietary omega-3s. Well, given the new meta-analysis and other negative meta-analyses, our job as doctors should be to stop highly marketed fish oil supplementation in all of our patients.
The challenge of our time is to reconnect ourselves back into that world and see the repercussions of what we're doing. And nothing illustrates the issue better than the meal that I just sat down today. You all sat here and chowed down on farmed salmon, and obviously you don't give a shit about what you're putting into your body. You know what a farmed salmon is? It's filled with toxic chemicals. You know, where does the food that you feed your salmon? I know Tasmanian salmon. Those are not Tasmanian salmon. Those are Atlantic salmon that are brought and raised in cages in Tasmania. When you render down these fish into pellets, you concentrate whatever's in them. Then you feed the pellets to the salmon, and you concentrate what's in the pellets. So if you check those salmon, they're filled with dioxin, PCBs, dieldrin, Teflon, malachite green. You can go down the list, and that's what you just put into your bodies. You know, and you know, when you feed salmon pellets, the flesh comes out gray. You wouldn't eat a salmon that was gray. A week before they're to go to the market, the seller comes to the buyer with a fan of colors from bright red to yellow and says, "What color do you want your salmon?"
They also had to figure out a way to make grayish fish flesh look pink, which it is naturally when pulled out of the ocean. So the aquaculture industry feeds farmed fish artificial coloring. This is from the drug company Roche. Fish farmers get to pick out the color they want to dye their flesh like paint chips.
You choose, and they feed it a dye the last week, so the nice orange color you ate is the dye they fed the fish. I'm not even going to talk about the ecological consequences of growing these carnivores in open net pens, where sea lice and disease now are spreading to the wild fish in the neighborhood, and all of the buildup of feces under these net pens. The act of consuming that salmon has repercussions that go far beyond this room, that go around the world. But we live in a world in which these connections are shattered, and we don't see them any longer.
80% of all seafood sold in the U.S. is now imported.
Now, I don't think people have any idea how much imported seafood's coming into this country.
The FDA inspects and tests less than 1% of all seafood imports. Less than 1% of all seafood imports. And when it does, it frequently finds filthy fish and banned chemicals. FDA records show page after page of rejected shipments. Catfish from China, veterinary drugs. Swordfish from Vietnam, poisonous. Snapper from Malaysia, filthy.
If it's from a foreign country, I'd be very cautious. I wouldn't eat it.
One of the things often found in this imported fish is a fungicide called malachite green. It's illegal to use in food because it causes cancer and birth defects.
Lab tests routinely detect antibiotics banned for use in food in the United States. Antibiotics are used to treat fish raised in crowded conditions that can breed bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Food safety advocates say the FDA is not doing enough to protect consumers.
Consumers may be getting a dose of antibiotics with their seafood dinner, and that's something that the government should stop.
Lab testers say fish farmers in nations like China play a cat-and-mouse game with them. When the lab rejects shipments for an illegal chemical, Foreign fish farmers simply switch to another harmful chemical.
They know it's illegal, they know it hurts people, but they do it anyway.
Researchers say the chemicals and antibiotics found may not make you sick immediately, but eaten over a long period of time, they pose a significant health risk.
When you go out to a seafood restaurant, what type of seafood do you order?
I don't. Why take the chance?
As we can see, all fish is harmful to human health. But what about the environment? Check out this video that shows what we're doing to our oceans. We're depleting them of all fish life.
The way fishing is done today to feed the demand for 90 million tons of fish is primarily through massive fish nets. For every single pound of fish caught, there is up to 5 pounds of untargeted species trapped, such as dolphins, whales, sea turtles, and sharks, known as bykill. If we were to imagine this same sort of practice happening on the African savanna, targeting gazelle, but in the process scooping up every single lion, giraffe, ostrich, and elephant, nobody would stand for it. Yet, this is what is happening in our oceans every single day.
So there are two things that you can get from this video. One, fish is not a health food. Raw fish is not a health food. And two, if we want to save this planet, if we want to save the environment, we have to stop eating animals, period.
Give this a thumbs up if you're going to start taking fish off your plate today. Also, subscribe to our channel for more videos every week. We hope to see you here again. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.